Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, viewers from wherever you're watching us from. Is your host Jermaine Odhiambo at Wima Sports. We are at Osoita Lodge, where guests become family. Today we are very, very honored to have a great triathlete and also a motivator, and you shall get to know more about him and get to hear more about what he does. And he can also inspire you to do much more, because underlying the word motivator, and he's none other than Swaleh Balala.
Thank you very much. It's an honor being here. It's great, this setup and everything that you guys are doing and exposing people to the world and showing them that certain sports need to be showcased to the world.
Yeah.
Especially in Kenya, where it's not easy to see these types of sports out there, because to many people these are alien.
True that, and that is very true, because we were at the 2022 Commonwealth Games, and the crowds were not that big, and so part of it is because of, as Swaleh said, it's awareness and just letting people know what's available and what sports are available, and more so the young people, so that we can nurture you up for us to have better sports development in the country and also in the entire region. So just to kick us off, briefly, if you can narrate to us on how you built your passion for sports growing up.
So I would say built is not the word. Let's say it just came into me because from a very young age I've just been into sports, and not necessarily one sport, just every single sport that's out there. Whatever sport somebody's playing, I'm in. Like, you guys are gonna play, let's go. Hockey, let's try hockey. Cricket, I'm not good, but why not, right?
Rugby?
Rugby, no. Because most of my high school life was in and preschool was in Mombasa, so rugby isn't that big in the schools that I was in. We did for a brief time play touch rugby, but then there was no tournaments about it. And then comes swimming, because also my dad was a swimmer before, so he had a passion for us to be in swimming. Like, just you don't need to compete, but for now just do it, and then you get better, and then like nice. And running came automatically. And this was me in kindergarten. So it was me and my cousin sister, who are almost of the same age. We would go to one school which is about 3K away from home. So she would want to be on the pram, and they would ask me to be on the pram, but I was like, can I run to school also with you guys? So I would run by their side as we got there. So sports has always been a big part of my life. Yes.
When you said running came automatically in my mind, was like, I thought you used to hit people.
No, I wasn't that naughty.
Oh, you're not that.
I was a very calm child when it comes to that.
So this came in naturally then, but at what age did you now start participating actively in sports?
Whenever there was any, mostly, as you know, from the coast, swimming is a huge part of schools. So whenever there was any swimming gala or any swimming competition like that, I would always ask to be in, and I would not always win. So I was like, why you always win? No, I just put me in. I just want to get that feel. I just want to swim. I want to compete. Let me just see what's out there, right? And that's from about 6-7 years old. But that's without any training. That's just the school training, and then the school team wants extra people. They're like, pick me. I'll do it, right? And then as I got older, football became a passion. I started playing football a lot.
Striker, defender?
Midfielder. Yeah, because of course, running. This guy's fast, put him there, let him run. And then what was happening is, like, when I'd play, I'd enjoy it so much that I don't feel tired, and guys are like, this guy's not getting tired, put him on, let him play the whole game. So it just grew from there. And then now triathlon came in at the age of 15, is when I started really like going into it. I can tell you how I started triathlon, which was by fluke. So I would see triathlon in the newspaper and some banners in the town. And I was like, let me try and train for that. So we had a small 10-meter pool in the compound. I would swim there a couple of laps, cycle around the whole compound, throw my bike down, and run around the whole compound, and everyone thought I was crazy. But it was a sight to see, because like, this guy's training for something weird. But then every year I would miss the date. I would not go for the race. Like, I would just train like that on my own, no coach, no nothing, and then I'd miss the date, and I was like, oh, you know what, I give up, it's fine, this I won't try. And then in high school, one day the sports teacher was like, they're gonna host a triathlon, anybody wants to join? I'm like, oh. It's something I've been wanting to do, but I haven't got the chance, so let me just try it out. So the first race was done in Osoita Academy, and I won that race. I'm like, this is fun.
So I can imagine all the preparation process that you had, and the anger of I want to participate. When am I? You finally got it.
I finally got it, but the funny thing is, for this race there was no preparation.
Okay.
It's like, I prepared all the other ones and I missed this one. Let me not prepare. Let me just go and have fun.
Have fun, yeah.
You know, I think that was the best part, because at the end I wasn't tired, because I just went to have fun.
Have fun.
Yeah. Then a month later there was the national championship, which I didn't know. I'm just like, they said there's another triathlon, you guys want to do it? I'm like, yeah, no. I went for it and I won that one.
Oh, nice.
And then from there is one of the triathlon coaches, the very few triathlon coaches at that time, saw me, especially on my run. It's like, we want this guy to join my team. And from then on, it's all been history.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you remember the time
the time I did?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember. All I remember the coach telling me is like, normally when people get to this stage of the race, their legs are like bricks. But your legs are still going up. You're still lifting your heels up. So you have something in you.
You have something in you.
Yeah. So why not try and join? And my dad was like, yeah, go for it.
Okay, now speaking of your dad, all this time you're doing preparation, you're all alone, trying to figure things out. How's the support from family at that time? Yeah. And now when this coach identified you, and your dad just gave you the go ahead to continue and do it.
Yes.
So how's the
support from the family has always been immense. It's always there. They would always encourage me to do more, but then at that time, of course, I was in high school, right? So like, don't forget your studies. So it was me trying to balance both of them together, and you would have the family backing me, and then my dad would. The coach asked my dad, like, you want him to join? Yes, we joined. And then we just grew a relationship between me and the coach after that. And then it got better and better. And the results were shown. Okay.
So 7 years straight, you mentioned that you've been at the top. Probably before we get to that, when was your first triathlon participation after this coach identified you?
2009. 2009 is when I started racing, and at that time, like now we have gadgets, we have everything to tell us our time, splits and everything like that. At that time was just someone ticking down, and when the race is over, the papers are just somewhere. You know, it's not like it was put online for me to be able to reference. Also at that time, at a young age, I didn't know like you work with times. No, I was just like, go faster. All you need to do is win. Doesn't matter your time, or just win, because there's no facility to tell you like, you gotta do it this way. This is what you need to do. Build it like this.
Yeah, we are coming to speak about facilities and gadgets shortly in a few. But now you've come, you hit top athlete in triathlon for 7 years. Undefeated, yes, undisputed. So what are some of these international events that you attended, and how was it now for you interacting with other athletes, triathletes outside? Yeah. In terms of competition and all that.
So at the time when I was reigning champion, there must have been always one international race happening in Kenya, which would always be in Mombasa because of the sea that's happening. And whenever this happens, whichever international athlete comes down, I would be with them, go with them on the course and everything, and just spend days with them and just see how they live. And this was great exposure for me at that time because you don't see these type of people. You don't know them that much. And in Kenya, I was the only one. So I was the only reference to look at myself, or maybe past triathletes.
Yeah.
So the past triathletes are probably coaches who are very busy at that time, and I don't see them actively training at that time. So then I meet these international athletes who are like really going at it, and then I'm picking up like, this is nice, this is good, this is a good tip to have. And then within that time, my two most iconic races, which I can say, was All Africa Games in Maputo. Which I came 6th in the entire Africa, which was a great result for me because at that stage coming that number, and like I said, like there's a point you feel in the race where it's starting to be fun rather than painful, and you just enjoy the race. You finish the race and you're like, yes, and you end up with a great result. And then my second iconic race was Sharm el Sheikh in Egypt. This one was the Africa and Pan-Arabian Games.
2013, right?
Yes. And this one I came second. And because my running was so good in that one, the Egyptian team asked me to stay behind if I can, like as long as my visa allows. And they would help me on my swim if I can help them on their run. She was like, yeah, let's do that. So I stayed with the Egyptian national team and just trained with them. Also, great experience, not only in the sports world, but also culturally. I'm learning a new culture, learning new people, seeing how people act, seeing how triathletes now train in a major team. Because here the team was very small, but there, like, it was already at a huge scale of triathlon. So that was quite interesting. And then one of the last races I did was the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow 2014. Now, on performance-wise, it wasn't my best. Now in triathlon, if you get overlapped, you're out of the race. Automatically. So on this race, I was lapped. I was like the 21st one to get lapped. So I was holding my head high.
21st
one to get lapped, yes.
That was intense.
Yeah.
Those days were really...
Why it was intense and why I loved the experience, even though I didn't complete the race, was of who I was racing against. I was racing against the best in the world at that time. So the Brownlee brothers were there.
Oh, they were there?
They were there. So it was all the Commonwealth. I didn't watch them. I raced against them.
I watched them.
You watched them. That's why I got lapped. This was just wow. And this was Olympic distance. That's why I feel this year our boys have better chance because now it's sprint. So if they can now have that experience of just staying with the pack and then going all out on the run, they have a very high chance of giving a good result.
Yeah. So all these, you had all these experiences, getting to work with international players and getting to learn from them. I believe this had an impact to where your life is at now, because funny enough, maybe at that time you're not even thinking of okay, I'm working with this international player, but life won't get me to go international.
True.
But now you're international. Are there things you can identify that you picked from them that's really impacting your life now in terms of sports or even out of sports? Culture, you mentioned culture as well.
There is quite a few things that I picked from them, and I pick from everybody else, and I still pick now with the people I interact with now, which really helps me and my experience and my way of explaining to somebody and teaching them how something is done, or just teaching myself how this can be done better. So the best thing to do when you win or lose a race is to examine how the race went and how that race can be better. And that's one of the biggest things that I've learned from most of the people I've met is reflection. If you don't have that, then you don't know where you've gone wrong. Even if you win, you haven't done it perfectly. You never do it perfectly.
So reflection is key across all sports.
Of course.
You have to.
Yes, because you're never perfect. Even if you win. There's always something you can do better.
True that.
That's why there's always someone else who comes, because they've learned what that something is.
I can. You mentioned reflection, and I was thinking of Eliud. I bet he uses reflection a lot.
I bet he's one of for me, the sports person go-to is Elliot, because of the mental strength that he has. If you look at my Instagram, my quote is always, it's all in the mind. And then when he came out with no human is limited, I'm like, how can a human being do that for that long? This must be mental strength.
Yeah.
Mostly mental strength. Yeah.
Okay. So mental strength is key in sports.
Every not just sports, in life.
In life.
Like whatever you do, any craft of yours, it's mental strength. Otherwise, you get destroyed internally, you implode. Because you don't know how to deal with what's going on in your professional life and in your personal life.
Gotcha. So coming into the 2022 Commonwealth
Games, right, yes.
How was the preparation for you for that specific event?
This was quite interesting because the last time I actually raced was the 2018 Commonwealth Games qualifier.
2018,
yeah. That's the last time I raced competitively. Like really, like this is something I need to win. Was 2018. But then I didn't win that. Another guy called Mohammed Suleiman, he's the one who took that over. And then he went to Australia to race in the Commonwealth Games. Yeah. Now, after that I was already in Dubai, already working in Dubai, and I was like, this is where you would call, this was my mini retirement or semi-retirement, where I was like, okay, now let me focus on work and just build me more in a professional sense rather than an athletic sense. And then I found out about the race when I came down on holiday. Somebody had hinted it to me. I was like, okay, I can start doing this. But then my actual training for this race started in January of this year. Now, work was still going on.
You had to work.
I had now to work, train, and work, try and have them coincide. And still, of course, sleep, eat. Sometimes I had to now come down and just decide, like, am I gonna sleep? Am I gonna eat? What am I gonna do? Let me just sleep so I can wake up a bit early and then eat later on. So it's like, it's always a big gamble when you're trying to train through work because work, when I'm at work, it's 12, 13, 14 hour work days. So if the people who are tracking my training on my Instagram, they would see like I would be on the cycling track at midnight or 11:30 p.m. or 5 a.m. Like this is the times after work or before work where I can actually go and train. And then mid of the day, like 12 sharp, when I have a break, I have one of my buddies would come to the club to swim and like, let's swim, let's go. And then he would also help me push on. So that's where the preparation was. Only thing I would have wished was just longer preparation. With that type of training, longer preparation would have been better. If it was only strictly training, 3 months would have been enough for me to get back into the shape where I was. Yes.
It's a process. I know you'll come back strong.
We're working on it. It's a work in progress, right? Dust off all those cobwebs and get in.
So you came to the event. You finished the swim really well.
No, actually, my swim was horrible. It was? My swim was horrible.
You came out?
I came out third. But then, according to my timings and the timings I do in training, like it's just like... I would think it's mostly because of the altitude. I should have come here earlier and climatized because as soon as the swim started, the first full 400 meters out of a 750 swim, like I couldn't breathe. I was gasping for air, but I was just pushing on. When I hit 425 meters, then I caught my breath and then like, okay,
let's push it.
Now I can glide, focus on my stroke and everything like that. Before it was just survival. Like don't lose them, that's all. So swim was horrible, but bike was extremely amazing. Something which I didn't expect because I saw the bike course before. I was like so worried. I'm like, I can either fall, get a puncture, break something, break my bike. So I gotta be really careful. But
so you did the first loop, second loop? At what point did you now settle down and let's go?
Oh, from the start was let's go. From the start was go. Because when we were doing the cycle route the day before, I was taking videos of it. So when I went home the following night, just checking like this is dangerous, this is dangerous, this is dangerous. And then now when it starts to hurt, I shouldn't say this, so nobody should do this. When it starts to hurt, I would close my eyes and just like focus, and then I would open briefly though, because otherwise I'd be in a ditch. And then the run, so I didn't train running much because I was trying to nurse a injury. Whenever I trained to run, I would get injured and I have to stop for like 3-4 days. So I was doing like just focus on your swim, focus on your bike, and hope for the best on the run, which was also not something to do. Okay. But then my run was okay, not my best, way off of my best. I felt heavy also on the run, but thank God I finished it. And because I saw quite a few people like didn't get to the run part because probably they couldn't finish the swim, or got a puncture on the bike, or just couldn't handle the last bit of it. The heart rate was going too high and the altitude wasn't helping.
And I think the event was organized at the perfect time. You can imagine it under the noon sun.
Also, you can imagine it under freezing weather. So I think it was a perfect weather, just before the weather changes.
So how was it for you? You're senior triathlete, one of the OGs. How was it for you just seeing the young people come up?
It was really like it was incredible. Because this is how you see this sport is growing. If I would come back after all these years, like it was 4-year break, come back here and then there's still me and the regular guys, I would feel that this sport has plateaued. But seeing new people, seeing so many people in this race was quite exciting for me, because I really like okay, this thing's growing and this thing's getting better. Of course, it is inevitable. You will never be number one forever. And always there's someone younger, faster, more hungry, who's out there who will come and do their best, and that's the case here. Because also, this was not my first defeat to younger people. As I was now stopping my career, there was Abdullah Mansour who came over and he took over the triathlon flag, and he was flag bearer as top triathlete in Kenya. And then came Muhammad Suleiman. And then now also Abdullah Mansour was in this race.
He was. I saw him.
So him and him were like, we're really good buddies. So we're like, okay, old guns, let's do this. Let's see what we can do out of this race. So we really tried for it. And then now came the boys, who really performed really well. And I feel with like proper guidance, they would also get way better. Way better.
Yeah. So are you thinking of maybe at a later point, or even now, of having any kind of setup for mentorship for such boys, or if you want to work with them, or establish something that can help work with them in terms of preparation and all that, towards taking the sport to the next level, so that we can also have people overlap people as the Brownie brothers.
Yes, as they did. Yes, true. The biggest challenge that we have here is the facilities that we have. You don't have a lot of that. People, the concerned bodies don't really invest a lot into the facilities that would now nurture talent. So you can say you want to help somebody, you give them a program, but then they don't have the facility to do that program. So it's like, where am I going to do this 150k bike without risking my life on the roads, potholes and everything like that? But now, what was also a good thing for me to see is that the Kenyan Federation has also stepped up their game. The Triathlon Federation has also stepped up their game. Some simple things like website is up and running and it's doing well, and they have already a calendar of what events to run and where it's going to run. So it's and I like that it's now been spread out across the country, so we can give more exposure to this sport in different regions of the country.
Awesome. So you're from the coast, some point, then you moved to Dubai.
Yes.
So what got you to moving to Dubai?
Like
job or?
So it was job, but I got the job easier because of my background, my professional background. Like they say, if you don't grow, you die. Right?
Yeah.
So I was in a place where, okay, I'm doing certain things. I'm already somewhere in my professional career, and now I want to grow, and I got this opportunity to go and grow. So why not take it on? The best thing I can do is fail, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll learn more.
You learn more.
And then I'm like,
So
okay,
it's not a
I can do
failure.
this better.
Yeah.
So I won't fail. I'll learn. So the worst thing I can do is, or the best thing I can do is learn.
Learn.
And the better thing I can do is like exceeding
Exceeding it, yeah.
everybody's expectations of what's gonna happen there, what's gonna happen to you, what's gonna happen to your triathlon career. But even when I went there, guys are like, why did you come to Dubai? You already have all this status back home in the triathlon world. I'm like, because I want new challenges, because Dubai is a hub it's a multicultural hub, just like how Kenya is. But there you get world-class athletes, world-class coaches, and you have all the facilities that you need there. Now, only thing that's missing there is your time. So if you can balance work and time, work and training, then you're good. You're good to go.
Yeah. So at that particular point, after getting to Dubai, are you a trainer in Dubai?
Yes. Right now I'm a personal trainer, swimming coach, and a group exercise instructor.
Okay.
Now with all these three expertise, I also train now triathlon to people who mostly in Dubai sense want to do the Ironman or the half Ironman, which happens every single year in Dubai.
Okay.
So I have a couple of athletes who also recently did the 70.3, which just happened a couple of weeks ago, and they did quite well. And they were starting also from scratch, now building it up. But of course, it's a process, and this is a big message I need to give to most of the people here in Kenya, because they're like, you know what? I know how to cycle, I know how to run. Swimming will just happen. But then when they come to it, it's like, wow, swimming was overwhelming. And people don't understand that triathlon is one sport. But they train it like 3 different sports. They're like, today will just be a cycle. No, you need to train it as one big sport. So I'm cycling, but in the mindset that after my cycle, I still gotta do an amazing run. All right? Or I'm swimming, I still gotta push on the bike. Like, you know, if someone just this is a swim, a run, a bike, and I never train together, I never put it a brick session, I never do a full triathlon, you'll never have that feel of competing. And what most people miss out on is the training of transitions. If you saw my transitions, and the top other 2 was quite fast.
True.
Because and I think they do as well, is you have your training sessions where it's transition training session. You might not get exhausted as the other ones, but you know, because once you're out of the water, you're really discombobulated. So what you need to do is like make sure everything's set. Something as simple as, is it glasses before helmet, or is it helmet before glasses? You know, so there you're like, oh, you're flustered, you're like, what? And then you just mess up, something goes wrong, and then your chain's off, and then, oh my God, what do I do now? Then you're just there stuck fixing the chain, and the peloton has gone like crazy. Missed it.
So do you think the Kenya Navy, speaking of you said Ironman,
yeah,
do you think the Kenya Navy can participate in such events, so having a background of swimming?
Now very particularly is what type of swimming. If they're divers, I don't think so. If they're actual swimmers who went now to the Navy, then maybe. Because if I can recall, one of the very first triathlons done in Diani, I raced against a guy from the British Navy, and he was quite good. He like really moved. But he already showed that this guy's background was actually swimming and not diving and tactical stuff that they do in the Navy. So if it is swimming, then they have a chance. Yeah.
So if you can just share some insights and foresights that you have, that you can speak into the development of triathlon in Kenya or in the region, now having that you have experienced the international background and international world class in terms of equipments, gadgets, and all that.
So I would say we're on the right track. We're not yet there, but we're slowly growing.
Okay.
The fact that there's new athletes in the sport, the fact that the races are always done in a different county, and the fact that the Triathlon Federation is actually running and running well, which I can see from what I've seen. This is already a great stepping stone for us now to start even approaching external people for just sponsorships of certain equipment, where you can now build a training triathlon hub here in Kenya, or if you can have it in like certain triathlon dominant counties, then now you can now start building from there and have people, because right now whoever triathlete is there, I'm guessing so, they're all moving on their own funds. Nobody's actually fully sponsored on this and that, and triathlon is an expensive sport because you have cycling in there. Cycling is not cheap. You know, swimming, if you have the swim membership and you already have a swim background, you're good. Running, like a lot of people say, you just need just running shoes and you're gone. Most people don't even run with shoes up country, right? On the nice ground that they have there, and they still make it to the Olympics. You know, they prefer to run without shoes. So that's not an issue. The issue is the bike. And some people say, most people say, cycling is you. To some extent it is, but to some extent you do buy speed. So equipment also plays a big role in this. You can't have some
the leg power.
Yes, you can you because then you are pushing so much more effort, where this one is pushing less.
And moving.
And then and you're moving at the same speed, let's say. When you get to the run, this guy's legs are still fresh. Yours have pushed so much. It's like if I had that bike.
I hear Asia's really South Africa. Good bikes.
Morocco, South Africa, Morocco, Egypt. These are the African countries which have really developed in triathlon. Yeah.
Okay. So we are on the right track.
We are on the right track.
We'll get there.
Yes.
And now, being an athlete, being a trainer, being a triathlete, and there's lots of things that come into a wholesome, successful athlete. And if you can just speak something on preparation, you've already said something on mindset. I know you've said something on preparation. You can speak on the other aspects of a sport, which is strength and conditioning,
the nutrition, rest,
recovery. I saw you with the massage gun. You know, some of those things, do they make a difference?
They do make a difference, and it comes down to equipment and people understanding how the equipments work. Now it all coexists together. If you don't have one piece of this puzzle, your training performance may be good, but you can actually do better.
Yeah.
So if you know you can do better by having, let's say, nutrition, strength and conditioning, rest, you know, all these aspects put together, and above all, mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have all these aspects put together, then you can now produce the best that you can produce. And even if you don't win a race, but if you know deep down inside that I've given my best, then you'll be happy for sure.
Yeah.
When I was training, if you reference on my Instagram page, you would see some of my training sessions done in an indoor trainer. I have a blind on, and everyone's asking like, why you have a blind on? Because it's painful. What I need to do is shut off my legs and just let my mind work. So my legs will be moving at a certain pace that I want, but it's my mind now controlling what needs to happen. Do you know your body gives up 40% of what you can actually do?
40%?
40%, the rest is all your mind. Your mind tells you, okay, I'm tired. And the body says, yes, I really am tired. But actually, no, if you shut it all off and just learn to find that place in your mind and just push, you'll find your second wind. That's why people have the runner's high. Or in the cycling, they get their second wind, because this is where it's all about. It's here. That's why I always mention it's all in the mind, because that's where it begins and that's where it ends. How do you think Muhammad Ali was winning most of his fights?
Definitely.
It's everything he was doing outside the boxing ring that led up to the boxing ring, where he's already defeated the guy mentally. Right? Before comes the battle of the fists, comes the battle of the minds. And once you defeat someone mentally, that's it. Because now they have doubts, like, okay, I've trained so hard, I have what it takes, but my mind doesn't have what it takes, so of course I'm not gonna win this.
Now you mentioned Muhammad Ali, and I was just thinking of some of the quotes you were saying. I can rattle a snake to be
put thunder in jail, right? I'm so mean. I make medicine sick.
So if you could speak to a 19-year-old you, and on something that you do different.
Yes.
Yeah, something that you do different.
So unfortunately, when I was 19, that is when my coach passed away.
Oh, so.
And at that time, I thought, okay, I have what it takes. He's trained me. Let me just keep training the way I'm training and just keep going. 19, 20, and then slowly now found a swimming club, which I would swim with, but then in my mind have cycling after, so I would follow their program but then do my own cycling or running program after. If I was to go back, I would tell myself to find a triathlon coach at that time. Get a coach at that time, even if it's an international coach. So at that time, before COVID, right? That's way before COVID. Online training wasn't a huge thing. It was there, but people weren't really trusting it. So if I would go back in time and tell myself, I was like, okay, get yourself a coach.
Yeah. So you, 19-year-old triathlon, you just heard that you need to get yourself a coach.
A certified coach. Okay, who knows what he's doing. It's not just putting you out there to run and cycle. Okay, there must be a plan. You have to have a plan. What you can do is challenge your coach by asking him, okay, we have a race in 12 weeks. Give me a 12-week plan. If he can't, then you know he's not the coach for you.
Yeah, and definitely that goes across to all sports.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, all sports. You 19-year-old, you play basketball, you do soccer, you do whatever you do. Get yourself a trainer, get yourself a coach, certified, right? So you mentioned when you're transitioning to Dubai, you mentioned that now you started thinking of building building your career, and building your brand. Out of now just being a triathlete.
Yes.
So if you can speak into sports and business, if there's advice that you have, insights, experiences that you have that you can relate, where athletes can get to learn that, yes, I need to compete, but how do I use my prime time to build my future? How do I get to balance all that?
So from all the athletes that I've seen, every single one of them have a profession behind them, something to fall back on. I know one guy from Morocco who was really trying to get to the Olympics, because in the Olympics, if you're not in the world circuit, there's only a wild card thrown, which is one male in Africa. So he was really trying to get in, and he got in the last Olympics to represent. And he is a surgeon. So you can imagine the time spent as a surgeon. This guy's actually also training at the same time.
Crazy.
So my advice will be get something to have something. You gotta have something behind you, right? A profession that you have, and you nurture it towards that, because it's very hard to be an athlete, full-time athlete. You gotta have a lot of resources, a lot of sponsorships, because as you see, for you to make your numbers, your points go, how you gotta be available in all of these races, and all of them need you to travel, hotel, and traveling with your bike isn't easy, because then the airport will always be like, we gotta charge you more for that. So you see, if you don't have all that backing, it's very hard to dedicate yourself only to being a triathlete, especially as you get older and responsibilities get more. All right. As a younger self, you can, because you can get away with it, because you have your backing of your family, you have school, which only demands you in a certain time. I can study later, but as you get older, so much other things that come in between where you can't dedicate all of it to triathlon. You have to now have your profession. But if you don't learn to balance the two, you're gonna lose one of them. And you eat from your profession, so you know which one you're gonna choose. By default or by design, you're gonna stay there.
So family, I've been seeing a young, is it boy or girl?
No. On my Instagram. No, that is my niece. That's my niece. Yes, I'm not sure that.
You are a good uncle.
they see me, they don't see me very often, and this was quite a nice opportunity for me after the race to go home and see them, and I felt that was like one of the highlights of my short trip now, was to see them and spend time with them.
And you never know how these young people look up to you.
Yes.
Until they start saying it at a later age, and you're like, oh my God, I was doing nothing.
Yeah.
So we are now in the quick fire segment, but before we get into the quick fire segment, the tough question, or is it the easy question to answer? Are you retiring anytime soon?
With this statement, people will think, how old is this guy? No. Right? He must be so old. Like the question of retirement is coming up soon. No. So I had a mini retirement or semi-retirement because, of course, work, professionalism, my building my own self. But then I had a wake-up call, like, you can't do both. Why not do both? Because all you need to do is sacrifice. And if you're willing to sacrifice, then the fruits will be available for you. True. So retirement is not anytime soon in my spectrum. Of course, with no injuries, major injuries or anything like that coming up soon.
Yeah, we're not praying for injuries. We want to see.
Is there any wood here I can knock? Like no injuries.
So definitely, we want to see you. Personally, I'd like to see you get into the Ironman if life gives you a chance to. And I'm really looking forward to the next event with the boys. Yeah, I'm really looking forward. I enjoyed watching you guys compete and push each other to the last chance. Now on to the last minute in the crossing line. On to the quick fire segment. What is your best recovery equipment?
Ice. The ice bath. It's hard to get in, but then I love it. See, if I have, you saw me with the massage gun, right? The Theragun, So that's just to stimulate my muscles, get me ready for the race, or even post-race, just to like calm down and just get anything, whatever's tight, looser, okay? But that doesn't take any mental strength. All I need to do is find the place and just keep the gun there. Yeah. Ice. Ice all involves the mind. When someone, like I was having an ice bath like 2 days before the race, and someone would come in and talk to me, and the more I talk to them, the colder that water gets, even though it's not cold, because why? My mind has been thrown off of what I'm doing right there. So I love ice because now people are actually using ice baths as mental therapy. Because like, okay, this thing is freezing cold, but then when you get in and just focus your mind, this thing is not as cold as you actually think it is. So I can block that out. So for me, my best recovery is an ice bath. It must be, it must be numbing cold. Understand the word numbing cold if you want to have because then is when you realize how much of your mind you use in that process.
True that. I've experienced knee-high ice bath, but I can imagine what a full body immersion feels like. On to the next one, your best sports documentary, if you have any.
Yeah, I do. I have a lot. This is the latest one, not so latest, but the one on Netflix for Michael Jordan. The Last Dance. That was amazing, but that's not my best. Very funny enough, you mentioned Eliud Kipchoge, right? And have you seen his documentary?
I haven't seen it, but I've been looking to see it.
You should. It's called Breaking 2. Yeah. When he broke the 2-hour mark. That's an amazing documentary.
Is it on Netflix or Amazon?
You can get it on YouTube, man. The whole documentary is on YouTube. It's like a 2-hour thing. It's on YouTube.
I'll check it out right after this. Definitely. Today I have to see that. So your best sports athlete in the world and why? Who's this person?
I mentioned 2 documentaries. So MJ because they highlight his work ethic in the documentary, like how he was on and off the court. Okay? Yeah. But best sports person, I would still stick with Eliud. Although they don't mention like how they don't go really deep into his mindset and how he works and how everything's clean before. But what I love about him is when he's not training, he's a very humble farmer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That is just mind blowing. Like even in the documentary, they're saying like after he broke the 2-hour mark, he snuck into the country back to his farm, and he's already farming again. He's like with his cows and everything. Yeah. And everyone was so angry, like, why didn't you tell us he was arriving this day? We want to have a big celebration. He doesn't want that, right? And then the fact that no human is limited is like his tag, right? It just goes to show you like he has a lot of mental strength behind of what he's doing. Yeah. It's just that didn't highlight it that much. When you come to MJ, this guy was ruthless. Why? Not because he's that type of person, but because he will do anything it needs to happen for him to win. Whether it's kick you off his team or keep you on his team, but just barrage you with words until now you give him what he wants, and at the end of the day you all win, right?
Definitely.
So for Elude was just, he shuts everything off and just runs.
Yeah, I think those are really two world-class athletes. I mean, MJ has transitioned his court work into business.
Exactly, and his biggest achievement was signing up with PSG before Messi signed up. Right?
That was really smart.
And then his sneakers, right?
Yeah. So Eliud, I've watched a couple of Eliud's interviews, and I agree with you. His mindset, even when he's giving talks to some of these schools abroad, I don't know why we don't use such people around. Okay, not use is the wrong one, but we
invite.
We don't invite, or we don't give them an audience to impact into their own, because his speeches in I think it was in Cambridge, then there was Harvard. I can't remember the third school. They were really impactful. And I think we should also start. And you come to African Nazarene University. We're looking for you.
but you see where he comes from, Eldoret and Iten. People there already. This is their way of life, running. And it's not from someone telling you need to run so you can get this jacket. I see this guy. He was my neighbor, and look what he has done. Yes. Right. Look what he has built. His empire. His whatever else he has. So I can do it, right? Because. We live together, right? But now when you come down to other counties where it's more educational, 100% focused education. Okay, you can do sports when you're in school, but then when you get up there, like, you can't make a living, because that's the traditional way of thinking. Like, I can't make a living from sports. But if you have this type of athletes who come in to universities, to high schools, to everywhere, and just tell people like, yes, education, you must have it, but then your sports, if you are passionate about something and you find out that you're good, whether you have talent or you don't, okay, all comes down to hard work. If you're willing to put the work, you will get what you deserve.
Definitely, true that. Indeed, it was a great honor to have you with us, Swaleh.
Same here.
And how can people contact you if there's those people who are looking for someone to speak to a few children in terms of motivation? You are a motivator, you are a world-class triathlete, you're a trainer. How can people contact you?
The best way you can get through to me is on my Instagram, right? Swaleh Balala is as simple as that. And then, of course, I will reply to you back there, and then we see how, if it's to talk to kids or if it's to do even a simple training session when I am in Kenya. I'm up for that whenever you guys are free.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll share his Instagram page on the description, and also it will be running down on the screen down there, so that you get to contact him directly. Anyways, it was nice having you, viewers. Until next time, it's your host Jermaine Odhiambo, Wima Sports at Osoita Lodge, where guests become family.
Thank you very much.
Nice having you.
Same here, man.
Yeah.